final night of the Democratic National Convention wraps up with a big finish as Joe Biden becomes the 2020 Democratic nominee for president.
And some big news that hits home for Panthers fans tonight. Former head coach Ron Rivera says he has cancer, but some encouraging news. Rivera says it's in the early stages and curable.
But first, another major North Carolina university is switching to online learning only. NC State follows UNC's footsteps after 3 coronavirus clusters were reported from off-campus parties.
WFMY News 2's Alma McCarty spoke to a student from the Triad about what comes next for the university.
Over the summer, colleges and universities across our state prepared for the return of students in the fall. But already, the 2 largest universities in our state are pulling the plug on in-person learning, switching to online only, a decision forcing many to move back home. After just a week of classes, UNC Chapel Hill announced Monday that all undergrads would shift to remote learning. As Tar Heels packed up their dorms to head home, less than 20 miles east, NC State students like Bryce Wagoner saw the writing on the wall.
Within my close group of friends, we were all talking about, how long do you think it'll last? I know Carolina did it yesterday. Do you think we'll be a couple days from now, next week? We were all just playing the guessing game, really. We knew it was going to happen.
The junior from Greensboro says, unlike years past, he knew this semester would be far from normal. So the university's Thursday announcement that all undergrad classes were moving online did not come as a shock.
I think overall it just wasn't a smart decision to, send 35,000 undergraduate students into one city, one campus.
In a letter to the PAC, the chancellor said the majority of students, especially on campus, were abiding by the safety rules and protocols, but unfortunately that wasn't the case everywhere.
We've seen behaviors off campus that frankly are inconsistent with our community standards and have had an impact on our ability to go forward.
NC State identified coronavirus clusters off campus and in Greek Village houses, reporting more than 500 students in quarantine or isolation. Bryce says he'll continue to take the virus seriously and hopes what happened at State will serve as a warning to other schools.
I think universities in general, they did their best, but ultimately we knew what was going to happen.
Alma McCarty, WFMY News 2.
New at 11, UNC is canceling undergrad classes on Monday and Tuesday. The university says it's to give students time to move their belongings and to catch a break. Carolina is also extending the deadline to drop classes without getting a withdrawal mark to August 31st.
Some Triad colleges are reporting new coronavirus cases tonight. 3 students at Elon University have tested positive in the last 5 days. And High Point University is reporting 3 cases. It's not clear if they're students or staff. HPU says it has a plan if there's an outbreak, which includes quarantining in school-owned houses and local hotels.
North Carolina A&T is well stocked with supplies to keep students and staff safe. It has more than 1 million disposable masks and class sizes have been reduced. School leaders say if there is a large outbreak, they could switch to remote learning only, but they're hoping that won't be the case. But if so, the school would issue prorated refunds. Classes began at Winston-Salem State on Monday, and school leaders say there is no need for students to switch to online learning only. In a statement, the school says, after assessing and taking all of the necessary precautions, we felt it was safe to bring students back. The university is also in close contact with the UNC school system for direction. If classes were to go to remote learning only, the university says refunds will not be issued.
Elements Burlington Schools is dealing with 3 cases of its own. School board member Patsy Simpson told us there are 2 cases at Altamaha Ossipee Elementary in Elon and 1 at Highland Elementary in Burlington. Simpson says they're all staff members. Students, as you remember, aren't back in the building yet. But some parents are concerned because students were in the buildings last week for orientation.
I was a little bit nervous because my son was there last week for his kindergarten orientation. Well, they said that, anybody who had come in contact with the person who had the confirmed case would be notified.
The district says it's working closely with the health department. A spokesperson told us staff members are not required to return to school during contact tracing.
We've also learned that 6 staff members at Tyro Elementary School in Davidson County are in quarantine. They went into quarantine last weekend before the first day of school. None have tested positive.
As you know, a handful of schools are back in the classroom. Greensboro Day is one of them. WFMY News 2's Denise McMiller found out how they're keeping students safe.
Greensboro Day School students are back on campus this week after 5 months. Masks covered their faces and social distancing kept them from the usual warm embrace. It's only orientation, but it's giving everyone a taste of what it's like to be back.
It was interesting because instead of all of us being at campus, it was only 50%. And on top of that, not everyone was in all of the classes.
Emily Hall and her classmates know there will be plenty of changes this year.
And some of it's done on Zoom, some of it's in person.
Head of school Tracy Catlett says health and safety training is top of mind.
Our health trainings is anything from how to put on a mask properly, how to take it off, social distancing, and just some facts around the virus.
Catlett says they're also planning on having some classes outside, and 15% of students will learn online.
The swivel technology, they'll be able to zoom in to the classroom and see their classmates, and it'll feel hopefully a little bit like they're in the classroom and not just looking at a face on a screen.
Right now, 750 students are enrolled, about 160 more than last year, with more applications coming in.
I felt really comfortable at school just knowing that GDS had a set way of doing everything.
Students won't officially be back in the classroom until Wednesday, giving staff a chance to reflect on how the week went.
We have some things in terms of the carpool lines a little bit slower than normal because we're taking temperatures. How do we make sure the outdoor furniture gets wiped down in between classes? So we have lots of problems to solve, and we're going to use Friday to do that.
Catlett says they'll continue to monitor the virus and make changes if necessary. The school has added sick and well rooms to their health centers. They also have a new air filtration system that's 99% effective at killing coronavirus pathogens. They also have a plan in place if someone is exposed to the virus or tests positive.
All right, Denise, thank you. There's some good news and some bad news regarding our coronavirus numbers tonight. The bad news, our number of new cases spiked today. See it all the way down there at the end. The state reported nearly 2,000 new cases in the past day. Now, you can see it's not a record, but it's not where we need to be for state leaders to feel comfortable reopening. It's been a couple weeks since we've seen a number this high, so that's discouraging. The good news, it didn't impact our trend too much. You can see we've had a pretty good run over the past several weeks. It seems we hit our peak late last month, and today's spike is impacting that downward trend ever so slightly all the way here at the end. For those wondering how today's number of cases compares to the number of tests, well, that's not good either. Today's cases are 9% of the total tests. Remember, the state wants us at 5%.
As coronavirus trends start to stabilize, even going down in some other areas, health experts are urging you to stay vigilant. At the same time, some health departments are scaling back on their coronavirus investigators. You know them as contact tracers. WFMY News 2's Marissa Tanzino got an update on their efforts.
We know the important work of contact tracers. They basically trace the spread of the virus. As the number of active coronavirus cases goes down, so does the need for more tracers.
When this first started and we saw a huge increase in our number of cases, we had to ramp up our contact tracing.
Forsyth County Public Health Director Joshua Swift says at the height of the county's cases, it had more than 100 contact tracers.
In the past few weeks, we have seen a decrease in the number of cases, and we've actually, what I would call, we've ramped down our number of contact tracers.
They've cut that number down to 55, even though the virus is still spreading.
We are continuing to see spread among family members or among individuals where they go to gatherings. So that's why we're trying to tell people and continuing to spread that message of the 3 W's that we've all heard.
Wear a face covering, wait 6 feet apart, and wash your hands. Swift warns against letting your guard down.
And I know it's hard because we're 5 months into this. It was March 12th we had our first 2 cases in Forsyth County. Like I said, just 5 months. It seems like it's been a whole lot longer than that.
Forsyth County recently surpassed 5,600 cases and had more every day. And Forsyth County has trained health and government employees to be contact tracers so they can bring more people on board to trace the virus anytime they need it.
Marissa, thank you. Cone Health and the Guilford County Health Department are giving free coronavirus tests this week. They'll be at Daystar Church tomorrow from 9 to 11 a.m. and next Thursday from 4 to 7 p.m. Find them on Saturday at Mount Zion Church from 8 to noon. No appointment necessary.
A church in Alamance County is holding a drive-through testing event next week. You can stop by Elon First Baptist Church on Lynn Street next Thursday between 1 and 6:30 p.m. Testing is free with or without insurance. You can pre-register by calling 919-542-4991. 1.1 million Americans filed for unemployment benefits last week. That is up 135,000 from the week before. Some sectors are improving, like home construction and sales, but the travel industry, hotels and airlines continue to take big hits.
Some hotels closed for a long period of time totally. Otherwise, we're seeing, occupancy rates that are anywhere from 5 to 10 to 15%.
Here in North Carolina, nearly $7 billion have been paid out in unemployment benefits since mid-March. More than 40,000 claims have been filed in the last week around our state.
The State Division of Employment Security officially applied for that assistance program meant to give people unemployed an extra $300. If approved, our state would get 3 weeks worth of this funding. Remember, this stems from President Trump's executive order after the $600 federal benefit expired and Congress couldn't agree on an extension.
Checking up on the weather, one thing I'm watching for tomorrow will be some rain potential. We're actually still seeing some showers around right now, but highlighting this, it feels fantastic across much of the area. We have some 60s around already and some low 70s too. But as I mentioned, there are some scattered downpours, and this is something that will just simply continue heading into tomorrow, heading into Saturday. At this late hour, you're dealing with a downpour right here in central Randolph County. It is moving up to the north and to the west, and I actually expect more showers, maybe a thunderstorm, to form at times while you're sleeping overnight tonight. And tomorrow, usually we deal with afternoon storms. We can have morning and midday storms or showers as well, but of course, as usual, most likely time frame to get a little wet would be the afternoon. So for Friday, rain possible at any time, most likely during the afternoon. You have to have the rain gear close at hand. That is the plan for tomorrow. With all the clouds and the showers, we're not going to heat up all that much. I'm expecting a high only of 80 degrees, maybe some upper 70s for tomorrow. Coming up though, this is something extremely unusual. There could be 2 different tropical systems, perhaps 2 hurricanes in the Gulf of Mexico next week. We'll talk about if North Carolina has anything to worry about coming up.
You watched it here just moments ago on WFMY. Joe Biden formally accepted the Democratic nomination for president on the final night of the Democratic National Convention. His message focused on undecided voters as he talked about his vision to unite a divided country.
But while I'll be a Democratic candidate, I will be an American president. I'll work hard for those who didn't support me, as hard for them as I did for those who did vote for me. That's the job of a president, to represent all of us, not just our base or our party. This is not a partisan moment. This must be an American moment.
Meantime, President Trump campaigned in Pennsylvania today. He was in Scranton, just miles from Biden's birthplace.
He abandoned Pennsylvania. He abandoned Scranton. He spent the last half century in Washington selling out our country and ripping off our jobs and letting other countries steal our jobs.
While the president campaigned, protesters in neighboring Ohio rallied against the president after he called for a boycott of Akron-based Goodyear. Trump says he's upset with the tire company for what he calls a ban on political messages, including MAGA attire.
Joe Biden or Donald Trump? With about 2.5 months until Election Day, which way is the triad leaning? Well, 2 Wants Know got your candid thoughts. That's next.